Good morning, everybody. It's so wonderful to be back here this lovely Thursday morning. As many of you may know, last week, Friday morning, I flew to New York, and Sunday morning drove back with my family. With my wife and daughter flew, and I drove, and we drove. It was so beautiful. I mean, the United States is such a beautiful place. Nothing like the land of Israel, but still a very blessed country that we have, and it is huge. It is so much driving. So like I'm still seeing like dotted lines in my, someplace up in my brain. It's still seeing dotted lines passing through my subconsciousness. Either way, this week's parsha is Eikev, and it's very interesting that the parsha is Eikev. The word Eikev means the heel, and our sages Eikev, right, means the heel. Now, it's very interesting that our sages tell us that why does it start to Haya Eikev Tishmon? Eikev can also mean as a result of listening. But we say, why does it use specifically this terminology? To tell us that there are things that we take lightly, like stepping on our heel. Right? We step on our heel, and do we ever stop and say, thank you, heel, for being so important for my stride, for my walking, for my jogging, for my exercise, right? You don't stop and because we take it for granted. It's just, so too, our sages said that what the Torah is telling us here is that there are things we take for granted every single day. We take for granted the good gifts that God gives us, with the oxygen that we can breathe, the amazing body that we have, right? The amazing world that we live in, the amazing opportunities that are given to us, the amazing Torah that's given, that's a gift to us. I just started teaching this morning at the girls' school. It's now my second year teaching there, and I'm teaching the prophet Isaiah. That's the curriculum that I'm teaching now at the beginning of the year. And it's very interesting that if you look into the book of Isaiah, you see he's very, very harsh on the Jewish people, and he also comforts the Jewish people. It's like a whole mix of emotions that go on in the book of Isaiah. He has unbelievable prophecies, right? The most incredible, the most clear prophecies, second to Moshe only, right? According to many, he was like he was considered on the not on the level of, but like a Moses. Like a Moses. Why? Because of his clarity, because he also lived 120 years. He was a prophet for 80 years. I mean, there are many great comparisons. But what is the purpose of a prophecy? Why do we have, the Talmud tells us that although there are only 55 recorded prophets, 55, 48 male, 7 female prophetesses, right? Why do we only know of 55? The Talmud says that there were over 1 million prophets. 1 million prophets. There were over 1 million prophets, we only know 55 of them. Because the only prophets that really are recorded are the ones that have lessons for all time. For all time. It means we look at the book of Isaiah, it needs to speak to us today. The challenges the Jewish people faced during the time of the Second Temple, the First Temple, the same challenges we're facing today. And what is that challenge? The challenge is one 5-letter word. It's called habit. As soon as the Jewish people have habit, they get complacent, they have apathy, they rebel against the Almighty. It's the same pattern again and again and again. It is unbelievable. If you think about it, we have, in the past 2,000 years, we have every 10 years, there hasn't been 10 years, there's a great historian, his name is Rabbi Ken Spiro, and he spoke here for us at Torch. He's amazing. He's a great tour guide. He's been the guide for many Torch trips to Israel, and he came here to Houston as well. He spoke, and he has a T-shirt that shows that there hasn't been 10 years in the past 2,000 years where there hasn't been an attempt to annihilate the Jewish people. And recently, as the Argentina JCC bombing, you think of the Intifada, you think of all the terrorist attacks that happened in Israel, you think of the Pittsburgh shooting, right, the synagogue shooting, right? It's just like, it's nonstop. What do they want from us? What do they want from us already? What did we do? Hashem keeps on warning us, telling us, you're getting into habit, you're falling into routine, you're not waking up. And if you don't wake up, guess what's going to happen? Tragedy. Hashem wakes us up. It's like, imagine a parent who sees their child running into the street. What are they going to do? You're going to say, sweetheart, it's really not a good idea. No, you run and grab them, right? We're like that child, running into the street, doing things, going crazy. And Hashem needs to sometimes yank us and grab us and say, no, I'm sorry, you can't, because it's dangerous. And sometimes it's too late, right? And God forbid something happens. And now hopefully the next generation will learn. And sadly, the next generation, we see again and again and again. We have all of these prophets, all of these books, right? The 24 books of what's known as the written Torah. Every time we see the same pattern. And that's what this week's Torah portion begins with. It says very clearly, be careful with those simple mitzvahs. You think you take it lightly? You think you can just push them aside? Be very careful with those simple mitzvahs. Because it's all in, you think it's simple, it's not simple. And people say, I had a lady who once came to me and she said, here, one of these classes. She said to me after class, she says, Rabbi, I'm ready. I'm ready. You tell me what to do, I'm ready to keep Shabbos. Whatever you tell me to do, I'm doing. I'm ready. So I said to her, that's great. I'm very proud of you, but I'll have a very simple recommendation. I said, I want you to take one light switch in your house.
What?
Light switch in your house. And before Shabbos, take a piece of tape and cover that light switch. And that one light switch, don't turn on or off for the whole Shabbos. Either leave it on or off, but don't mess with it the whole Shabbos. I said, that's growth. And she looks at me and she says, Rabbi, that's nothing. I said, do it. Come back to me in a couple weeks and tell me when it's that easy. When it's just, you don't even have to think about it. So she comes back to me a few weeks later, she says, I do it every week, it's so easy. Next, I said, take another light switch. And it's a process, but these small things build up, and they build up, and they build up, and eventually, she's today completely Shomer Shabbos. But it starts with one light switch. We think like, oh, I'm going to take the whole thing. It's overwhelming. You take one small step. And that's what the mitzvahs, the Torah is telling us. Those small things people take for granted. Don't take it for granted. Don't look at it as if it's worthless. Don't. Because those are the things that are, those little mitzvahs, the simple things, are the ones that carry all the weight. Those are the ones that really have the impact. Those are the ones that change. We all know that we don't begin a diet by starting exercising 3 hours a day, right? You start with exercising a couple of minutes, right? And slowly, when it becomes easier, then, it's funny. I started an exercise. I'll tell you, I'm going to advertise for an app. It's a great app. Rabbi Chaim Busko from TORCH told me about this app. It's called 7.
7?
Yeah, it's a 7-minute app. 7-minute exercise. And every 30 seconds is a new routine. And I started this a couple of weeks ago. And I'm telling you, I'm declaring my own weakness here before you. And I'm telling you that the first time I could not do one push-up. Not one. I was there and I'm like, I couldn't do it. I could not do it. Right? When was the last time I did a push-up? I'm a rabbi. I'm not an exercise guy. Right? I'm not flexing my muscles. And I don't. Now it's a few weeks later. And this morning I did 10. Right?
Wow.
I did 10. And I was like, 1 second. How'd that happen? How did that happen? Right? It went from 0 to 1. And then to 2. And even the 2 were like 2 half ones, like, just like little, right? Today it was like, I realized it's like full. It's like, I've never done this in my life. I haven't done 10. But it starts with small steps. Small steps. 10 and 30 seconds, by the way. Okay, so it wasn't, I didn't have a whole minute, right? 30 seconds, then you get to your next routine, right? It's an amazing app. I do it now every morning, right? Before I go to shul, I get up, I do my 7-minute exercise, jump in the shower, and go to shul, right? So that's a morning already. So I need my coffee. So, and but that's the greatness of small steps. We can't jump. We cannot jump. We have to be so careful not to jump, because when we jump, we fall. Right? It says in Mishlei, I believe it's chapter 13, verse 9 in Proverbs, or maybe chapter 9, verse 13. I don't remember. One of the two. Okay, you'll correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, but it says, "Ivelas Adam Tisalif Darko." It is the error, it is the stupidity of mankind that makes him jump. When he falls, who does he complain to? He doesn't complain to himself. Oh, I shouldn't have jumped so fast. He looks, God, I can't believe you did this to me, right? God, why did you, right? Why did you jump? Who told you to jump? God, throughout the Torah, we see take small steps, small steps, small steps, but take a step, right? You ever see a baby try to walk, right? It's the most amazing thing. They're standing, they're holding on to the furniture, and they get away from the thing. They take a step and they fall, right? Do they ever say, you know what? Doesn't work. I'm not doing it anymore. I tried it. Didn't work. No, they keep trying and keep trying. All it is one step. That's what we need to learn from this week's Parsha. We need to learn, take that one step. We all are babies in our own things, all right? I would say that 3 weeks ago, a month ago, I was a baby when it comes to push-ups, right? So what do? You take one step, a half a step, something, but take a step. Take a step. And that step, eventually, you grow that muscle, you build it, and then eventually you're able to do so much more. You're able to take many, many, many steps, right? We don't try to run yet. We don't try to jog. We don't try. One step at a time. And that's what makes greatness. Hashem should bless us that we should be inspired by this week's Parsha, like every week's Torah portion, and we should, it's such a delightful Parsha. It's amazing. Every Parsha is, but this week is just like, Ki lo al alechem levado yechia adam. We have the verse that man doesn't survive only on his bread, right? We think that you have bread, so you can eat it, you'll be satiated. But the truth is that a person can, how many times have we been completely full? I just took 2 bites and we're full. Other times we eat, we're not full enough. Now we're not satiated. Why? Well, it's not, we think it's 1 + 1 = 2. In Hashem's world, it's not. Right? Ki al pi motzad dar Hashem yichya adam. We live by the word of Hashem. Right? It's not by the quantity, by the material, but it's by the spirit that we live, that we survive. And we have to constantly remember that, to take a step, to push ourselves forward, grow every day, and God willing, we'll continue to be awake in our spirituality, in our Judaism, every single day, and never let go. Amen. Have a wonderful week, everyone. Good Shabbos.